Lovely. I think it's 11. I would not waste any more time. Everyone, please, I would request you to switch on your cameras. Really helps to make the session very interactive. We have somebody who normally we don't get access to so easily. And he's Arjun here is from Wayfair. He has volunteered to give his time to explain to us how a marketplace like Wayfair works and at that scale and how they're supporting exporters going global. So I think this is the best opportunity for you to ask all your questions that you have, regardless of the category you are in. So let's make the most of it. I'll quickly introduce Arjun and then I will hand it over to Arjun to take it from there. Arjun leads global selling and digital advertising at Wayfair India. And he's working directly with Indian furniture and home decor brands to help them scale on Wayfair's platform. And before Wayfair, he was a senior manager at PwC, leading large scale retail transformation for their Fortune 500 clients. He holds an MBA from Carnegie Mellon and a degree in engineering from IIT Bombay. Today, he's going to give you an insight view on what global marketplaces actually look for. And this is coming from somebody who sits on the other side of the table. So, welcome, Arjun. Thank you so much for your time today. Over to you. Let me know whenever you want me to start sharing the presentation. I will be sharing it. Yeah.
Um, First first of all, Vishnupriya, thank you so much for inviting me to speak at this session. And yeah, you can start sharing your screen. I can kind of kick it off. But folks, thank you so much for being part of this program. I hope the GRP program so far has been productive for you. I've looked at the content; looks great. But yeah, frankly, I wasn't aware that I was going to be introduced. Otherwise, I was going to do my introduction myself. But I'll just add. So yeah, but thank you, Vishnupriya, for your kind words. Yeah, as I said, I lead the global selling function for Wayfair in India. We're based out of Bangalore, and in this capacity, we basically any Indian seller in the home segment that is keen to launch their business and grow their sales on a marketplace like Wayfair would be falling under me and my team's purview, and we'll be supporting you in understanding kind of how to grow that journey. Um, quick additional points on the background. So I've been with Wayfair for about 4 years at this point. Most of the time was actually based out of Boston, which is their headquarters. But then recently relocated back to India to stand up this global selling function for the company. Wayfair seems like you guys may be aware, but at the risk of repeating myself, I'll just say so. Wayfair is a big e-commerce marketplace in the US, predominantly in the US, but we do have marketplaces or we have markets in Canada and UK as well. We do about $12.5 billion of GMV every year. Most of that is in the home segment. So we are 100% home focused on home segment like furniture, decor, home textiles, rugs, carpets, things like that, versus kind of being somebody like an Amazon or a Walmart that kind of span across multiple categories. We tend to focus on the home segment a little bit more. Um, cool. And as Vishnupriya noted, today we will cover a little bit more on like what we're trying to build at Wayfair in the later part of the presentation. But I think in the first half, kind of I wanted to be kind of the spokesperson for marketplace, help you understand how that dynamic works, what sort of key things to factor as you're trying to build your business. And then I'll cover a little bit on the Wayfair part at the end. And kind of the only rules of engagement, I'll say, I want to keep this super conversational. If I go through the first 20 minutes without a hand raise for a question, I'll be disappointed. So feel free to jump in. There's no like Slido at the end to ask questions. Just jump in. We're going to keep this conversational. You guys are also super busy as founders and have taken the time to be part of this program. So we want to make this as productive for you as possible. With that said, we can jump into it. I think this is kind of just like basic 101, but at a very high level, you guys understand that a traditional retailer, say like a Costco or a Williams Sonoma in the US or a TJX, they follow the traditional retailer model, which is where they buy inventory from factories and suppliers and then resell to their B2C or B2B customers. Marketplaces, for the most part, And I say most part because everybody's trying to kind of grow into each other's spaces at this point. Marketplaces, for the most part, don't do the buying and selling, but act as digital platforms where sellers can list their products and kind of market it to their customers. So in terms of marketplaces now, based on the type of seller and the type of buyer, you can have like four permutation combinations of kind of the various kind of um, flavors of a marketplace model. So it's B2C, C2C, B2B, and C2B. So B2C is arguably a little bit more of the popular one, where some sellers, say like furniture sellers or mobile phone sellers, can list their products on a marketplace like Amazon or Wayfair, not mobile phones on Wayfair, but on Walmart, and then it's targeted towards end consumers, so for retail consumers like you and me. The most famous examples here are Amazon, Walmart, Flipkart in India, and then obviously I know Misho has been growing as well, and then particularly in the home segment in the US, Wayfair is a big name there. To contrast it with some of the other models where it's more C2C, for example, Etsy is obviously a fast growing player as well. But for the most part, Etsy kind of grew up being a C2C. So not established businesses, but like more small mom and pop shops can also list their products. eBay is another model where folks can sell their own products and eBay acts as a marketplace. And then coming to B2B, Alibaba is the most famous there. It's more for kind of corporate transactions, bulk buying. India Mart and Alibaba are good examples there. And then the last one is more geared to services. So that's where it's consumer to business. So that's where freelancers looking to kind of get gigs can list their services, and then businesses pick up on that demand. So that's like Upwork and Fiverr, particularly famous in the US. So today, kind of based on the nature of this conversation and kind of the cohort we have put together with you guys, we will be focusing a little bit more on the B2C model, kind of where you are a brand or like seller entity or a manufacturer, and you're marketing your products to retail end consumers. Cool. We can switch to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to understand here is that if you look at particularly I'm going to speak for the US market, but if you look at the trajectory over the last 15 odd years in the US retail landscape, there has been a dramatic shift towards the marketplace model away from the brick and mortar model. And you can see that across all kind of categories, right? So if you talk about apparel or like a department stores, so there has been a continuous decline of folks like Macy's, Kohl's, JCPenney. At some point or other, somebody is going kind of bankrupt or kind of struggling with their financials, and all that share taking has been taken up by e-commerce and marketplace models, like obviously the most famous Amazon. Um, and even in particular segments, we continue. So speaking of the home segment, where I have a little bit more insight, but if you guys have spent time in the US, there used to be like a big brick and mortar player called Big Lots. So they have essentially so Big Lots has basically filed for Chapter 11, and now kind of all that kind of share has gone to folks like Amazon and Wayfair in particular. We didn't even think about like Bed Bath Beyond. If you any of you have stayed in the US, it was a staple name in all of the US, very famous, very household name. But even then, they struggle to kind of operate financially and had to kind of shut doors and change the business model here and there. So overall, it has been a consistent theme of share shift going towards marketplaces in US cross category. And if you kind of dig into the dynamics of why this shift is happening, I think a couple of reasons are top of mind, because there are reasons why this sort of model bodes well for pretty much every stakeholder involved in the ecosystem. So if you think about customers, right? So the people who are buying, a traditional retailer will always be constrained by working capital, kind of their open to buy books, and they will always have to have limited assortment to display. marketplaces don't have that problem. They have what we call the endless aisle, and that has taken huge appeal with consumers. So across the board, you can see, and it also kind of gives them a lot of flexibility to enter new categories. They are much more faster to action. So consumers have benefited from seeing the assortment breadth on marketplaces. And obviously, because marketplaces are very closely tied to e-commerce, it has been kind of a conjoined rise of e-commerce and marketplaces, because then the convenience of home delivery and everything has increased as well. If you think about the seller network, so seller network generally has benefited as well. They Even when I talk to all the sellers in India, and even in my role in the US, I used to do a lot of seller management activity. I think sellers appreciate that they have more direct access to consumers when they versus what they would have in a traditional buying and selling model. Like I was in Jaipur and I was talking to a furniture manufacturer, and I think they had so far only done like B2B selling to like a retailer in the US who would come in, buy a design, and then kind of buy the inventory. But they were super keen to work with us. And I was like, okay, you already have a business. What's your motivation here? I think the one thing they mentioned that really struck out to me was he says, like, I'm a designer by kind of passion. I create 100 design pieces every quarter. I create samples. The buyer comes and then they pick four items out of that. But like I put a lot of my kind of effort and creative kind of input into creating those 100 designs. I would like an opportunity to test out those 100 designs directly with consumers versus relying on a buyer's mood of the day, or basically it's sort of you are eliminating that middleman and getting directly access to a wide variety of 20, 50, 100 million consumers, and they appreciate that. Plus I think so they are not constrained by what the buyer picks, but versus what they can directly sell. They are much more in control of their results and kind of their destiny, so to speak, on the platform, which also in turns help them get design feedback. If they have sold something and it doesn't work, they can get direct access. Like, okay, tried this, the customer reviews did not come in good, or it didn't pick up as much as I wanted. So it's like it truly puts you in not a manufacturer, but like a brand and a seller space where you understand what the consumers want. So sellers have generally been more than willing to work on this. I will say one more reason why sellers prefer this, but it differs from platform to platform. Generally, at least I'll speak for Wayfair, sellers have expressed that they can get much better margins working on Wayfair than they can in a B2B model, because we give suppliers much more flexibility with their pricing versus kind of just continuing to beat them down and have them run on razor thin margins. But again, that's a Wayfair specific comment. I wouldn't generalize that for all platforms. We have heard about other platforms kind of sellers on other platforms struggling with some profitability. So at least on Wayfair, I'll say that's a consistent theme I've heard from sellers. And lastly, I think the e-retailer, which is kind of the marketplaces, we benefit in the system because the biggest challenge, the biggest reason why some of the more traditional household names like Toys R Us, Barnes and Nobles, Bed Bath Beyond have also kind of struggled financially is because their model led to or required them to lock up huge sums of working capital in kind of two things. One is your kind of real estate assets, and second is the inventory. So when times are tough, I think there is a lot more rigidness in that model to be able to move this around. I think on the but when you think of again, because I'm more familiar with Wayfair, I think that's from day one. Wayfair has been a inventory zero model. We never buy any inventory, but doesn't mean that we are kind of hoarding up the cash. Like our EBITDA, we are a public company. Our EBITDA is like 6% only. Where does all that cash go? So we are investing very heavily in marketing, in kind of improving the technology, improving the customer experience. We built out like a fully end-to-end supply chain. And the reason I'm calling out, like the reason marketplaces can do that is because they have not tied in kind of huge sums of working capital in inventory. So it's sort of like the best of both worlds. Sellers get to be more in control of their inventory as well as kind of what products they want to push, and marketplaces can kind of stay away from that kind of financial burden and focus on things to improve the customer experience. That's sort of why we have continued to see a shift in sales share towards some of the e-com marketplaces. So if you just take a look at the recent financials disclosed by a few of the US based marketplace players. So Amazon reported plus 17% in 2021, 2026 Q1. Wayfair ourselves have kind of returned to a growth trajectory, 7.5% plus in quarter 1. Very good considering the whole home market in the US has been kind of soft because of constraints on housing and everything. And then Etsy has also reported positive year-over-year growth. So that's sort of how the marketplaces are taking share. What's been more interesting to see is that now all of those guys that heavily relied only on brick and mortar are waking up to the opportunity and be like, yeah, we want a piece of this as well. So whether you think of Walmart has kind of aggressively grown into marketplace, Target has in the past 1 year, I've heard at least like 5, 6 sellers from India were like, yeah, we got invited to Target Plus, and kind of I was reading kind of their transcript from earnings, but they are making a huge push in growing the Target Plus GMV in 5x in 5 years. And then even traditional folks like Costco, I know, has started their marketplace model. Williams Sonoma has started their marketplace model. So everyone's trying to get a piece of that action as well. So just continues to emphasize the share shift and how important the marketplace model has become to succeed in a kind of market like US. I'm going to take a pause there. I spoke a lot. Any questions?
Just feel free to raise your hands for any questions, especially the record brands in the room.
Okay.
I
Go,
do. Sorry,
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. I see Shruti's hand is up and Vishal's hand.
Uh,
Vishal, why don't you go first?
Okay. So, Arjun, I wanted to ask, like, how, like, I just being very honest, like, how, if I want, I have a kitchen, like, niche, for example, maybe you can say kitchen organizers, right?
Yeah.
So, why would, like, if I have to first start it with a global marketplace, why should I come to Wayfair compared to Amazon? Just a normal question, so I get a better idea to understand the Wayfair more better in terms of that.
Absolutely. I'll answer it more briefly because the later part of this presentation, we really get into kind of everything we're doing on the home
Okay.
part. And but I think, see, my recommendation actually to folks is not to choose one marketplace or the other. That's the other thing, and we'll cover this later. But most marketplaces are now also realizing that you guys as sellers, see, I'll say this, like even in a marketplace model with all the benefits that I mentioned, there is a increased level of risk that a seller takes in this model versus a more B2B PO based buying model where once it leaves the container, it's not the manufacturer's problem. You get paid and you can wash your hands off it. So we do understand that there is an increased amount of risky. If this doesn't sell, what happens? If it gets stuck in the US, what happens? So most marketplaces now have also enabled the option to cross sell on platforms. So if you think about like Amazon, right? So you can place your inventory in Amazon FBA network, and then you can actually sell it on Wayfair as well.
Got it.
So you can kind of multiply kind of your selling avenues from the same inventory pool. The same thing Wayfair has also done. So Wayfair, you can place in my Castlegate network, you can sell on Wayfair and you can sell on Amazon. So in that sense, I would actually say it's not a this versus that platform. It's like I think we need to think about which marketplaces are a good fit for your category, and then actually kind of tap into all of them. And at least so far, we have evolved the marketplace model to allow that flexibility without having you place inventory in five different marketplaces, because I do understand that can bear a burden on your financials. So
Yeah,
um,
that makes sense.
yeah, so but we can cover a little bit more on what Wayfair is doing separately from Amazon. I didn't want to get too much into that segment right now, but happy to take that question later. Shruti?
Hello, Arjun. So my question says, what capabilities distinguish Indian brands that scale globally from those that plateau?
That's a great question. Um, and I think it's almost like you had the slide deck before, because that's exactly the next slide. So we can jump into the next slide. Uh, so to answer that question, like what exactly, and there's two slides. One is like basic things about, okay, this is table stakes. You need to know this to be able to succeed. And then there's another slide about like what are like more things you don't get to hear um, in a training document, which is more like my own personal learnings from marketplaces. We'll cover those, and then we'll start to address some of the things you're talking about. Um, so I'll answer one part of it. So you're asking how does Indian brands and Indian sellers differentiate themselves? See, I think the first part there is we need to have a very good sense of our offerings competitiveness in the marketplace. So if I just, and this is sort of a lot of the work I did over the past year, at least for the home segment, we identified. So like as I said, so for the home segment, obviously China is huge in terms of what comes from China, whether it's like modular furniture, outdoor furniture, things like that that come from that. China has developed that sort of manufacturing base where the sellers there are more competitive with the automation and whatever have you. So the one thing I found which was very impressive with the Indian base of sellers, particularly in the home segment, was that they accurately identified which are the uh, pockets of assortment and categories where a more mature and more established geo like China has already dug their heels in, and where there is still white space. So, and they focused on developing those where there are white spaces, they still have a right to win. So, again, not to harp on the home part, but that's my experience. So if you think like carpets, right? So carpets, you can get like the more economical polyester carpets, pet carpets, and then you can get like wool, jute, cotton, silk, these sort of higher end material. Many of them are handmade. So there's a very clear distinction. So if you go to China, you will get the most good quality, power loomed, PET, and polyester rugs. But if you try to source hand woven rugs from China, it's very difficult. That's where Indian manufacturers like folks in Badohi and Panipat have kind of done really well in establishing that expertise and carving that niche for themselves. If you think about something like textiles, so all of a big part of the home textiles like bed sheets and kitchen stuff that comes from China is all microfiber based, because they don't have that much access to cotton, but we do. We are the world's largest cotton producer. So all, there also I've seen that the brands on, particularly I'll say on Amazon and Wayfair, who have been most successful in the home segment from India are the ones that kind of harp on 100% cotton products, linen products, more natural fiber products. So this is like just to give you an example of how Indian brands can carve out that niche. But the message here is whichever category you're playing in, just make sure that you have done enough market research that what you are bringing to the table is differentiated from what is already there. That's the number one rule in marketplace. Like you always need to bring something different or something better. So if you're bringing something that's already selling, you need to be making sure that you're bringing it at a lower price point, higher quality, better kind of value prop for the consumer, or you need to bring something different that is a white space. There are actually tools to be able to do this where there are these like market research companies, like for example, Helium 10 and Jungle Scout was another portal that I'm aware of. We use personally, like where you can like do research on each marketplace. What do they sell? What is the attributes of each category in selling, and where is kind of this demand mismatch and there's a white space. So that's very crucial. That's more like for step one, to identify what to sell. Now the second part comes to, which is sort of what this slide starts to touch on, is like how to sell. So in order to win in a marketplace, I think there's obviously 1,000 elements, but these six really come close to kind of hitting 90% of it. None of this should be like rocket science or something that you wouldn't have seen before, but it's like broad selection, making sure that you are placing your bets on multiple different categories, because that's one thing I like to talk about, like a marketplace different from a brick and retail store. If a customer walks, say a brick and mortar retail store sells clothes, shoes, accessories. When a retail customer walks into it, they actually see all of those things. So it's like one storefront for three categories. Marketplaces don't operate that way, because everything is so search focused and websites are so focused that, okay, we when I sell bedsheet, furniture, and decor, I'm having three different storefronts on the same website. So what that means is there is a tranche of customers I get who are only looking to buy decor. They will not see the furniture pages. There is another slim of customers only looking to buy furniture, and there's another only looking to buy soft home. So you really want to place your bets and put yourself in front of multiple storefronts. So again, this is so it is advised to not park all your eggs in just one class or one category, because then you can really shortchange yourself in terms of how much traffic and business you can get. Now, there are multiple ways to go about it. Obviously, in the starting, you probably want to start with one class and one section where you have kind of gotten the manufacturing input. But as time evolves, you always want to have try out and kind of establish like revenue streams across different classes. That's diversification. That's always the safer bet to play with. Um, I'm kind of jumping into the slide, but Shruti, does it answer your question? And then I'll jump into the other segments of the slide.
No, it absolutely does, and beautifully so. Thank you.
Cool. But kind of coming to the slide about what are crucial elements to win in a marketplace, we talk about selection. Merchandising, I think, is typically a very understated but very important piece in like an e-commerce platform. You can absolutely, customers make their buying decisions within like 15 seconds of visiting a PDP. Like, to make sure that the product quality is conveyed, the imagery is good, kind of the product features are accurately represented. Those parameters are super important and drive consumer confidence. Like, I always tell this to my sellers: your product detail page is your salesman. Like, your customer is not talking to a sales guy, not asking three questions. They are only looking at the product detail page and making the buying decision. And if you can't convey what you need to in that page, then you have lost the customer. So merchandising is really important. Goes without saying, pricing, always price is king, even in any sort of K-shaped economy or what have you, whether it's kind of high-end customer, low-end customer, everyone looks for value. Value, I want to clarify, competitively priced doesn't mean that you need to be selling cheap stuff. Wayfair in particular, again, just talking about Wayfair in a second, we actually do really well in selling good quality products at premium price points. So you can, like, if you go to any sort of marketplace in the US, you can get a dining table for $200, $500, and $1,500, and for $6,000 as well. We are able to sell all of those categories. So the comment is not to mention always go with low price point, always be the cheapest. But if you are like, make, again, goes back to that sort of competitive analysis. If you're selling solid wood furniture and you need to sell it at 800, make sure the quality is conveyed and you are at least lower than the other solid wood tables being sold on the platform. Like, you are competitively priced that way. Doesn't mean you always need to go with the low price point stuff, because there's a limit to how much success that can get. In stock, goes without saying, 101, it's not there, it's not going to sell. Reliable and fast delivery. This one's, for the most part, for you guys, it should be taken care of. What I mean by that is, you for the most part, if you guys don't have like warehousing assets in the US, you would be relying on one of your marketplaces who have built out a supply chain solution. Walmart has WFS, Amazon has FBA, I have Castlegate. So most of the time, this would be taken care of because they would be doing kind of the customer delivery. That's one thing I've seen all marketplaces do is hold a very tight control of the customer experience because obviously that's super important, but making sure you're partnering with this and kind of opting for those channels. The one thing here is if any of you are also looking to do like international drop shipping, so basically shipping directly from India to customers in the US, that's one where you would be a little bit more in control of the reliable and fast delivery element. And you'd want to make sure that you are kind of setting it up in the correct manner and making sure you still get good conversion. And lastly, advertising and promotions. This is where at this point, marketplaces have gotten enough kind of density of sellers that showing up on page one and getting in front of customers is really important, and not so easy just with adding a listing that okay, I just added my product, so obviously I'll get customers. You go to wayfair.com, there are 50,000 different dining tables selling, and only 50 show on page one. So there is a kind of need to show up on page one, show up in front of customers a little bit more, and advertising and promotions are the best way to do that. I will say for any of you who have done your research about marketplace selling, you would have heard this feedback that advertising and promotions continues to become a money pit and there's no end to it. I'll say you can. I have heard many suppliers that they are able to manage at a decent investment level where it's still profitable in their unit economics, and not kind of just become money drained. But yeah, it does require being very sure of kind of the competitiveness of the offering so that you're not just relying on bidding a dollar to show up on page one and getting a sale. I think the way we like to track this is your success on a marketplace is traffic multiplied by conversion. So if your conversion metric is not good, then you're just kind of endlessly spending on traffic, but you're not getting the ROI. So make sure your conversion metric, which is the other 5 elements on this page, tackle the conversion, and advertising and promotions tackles the traffic. So you want to have a healthy balance between the two. Any questions? Otherwise, we'll move to the next page.
Any questions, folks?
I
Yeah,
think Prerak has a question.
Hi Arjun. So Arjun, I am actually dealing in the luxury furniture category where we custom make and supply to the H&I clients across the country. So with Wayfair, how does this work? I mean, do we have to keep the products in stock if we go online, and then the logistics part, how will that be taken care of? And again, differentiating in a market where Indians are mostly supplying wooden-based furniture, shisham. I think that's where Indians are winning at. Where do you think an edge can be created in a luxury category?
Um, yeah, absolutely. We can discuss that. So help me understand, like, or if you, I'll say this, like, if you want to take this, if it's a very kind of segment specific and like your company specific question, I'm more than happy to take it offline. In fact, at the end of the presentation, Vishnu Priya will share out my information. You are already in the furniture space. We can connect, and I can help you understand the opportunity at Wayfair. But kind of at the last level, if many folks do international drop shipping also, which is basically your inventories in the India and then you ship whenever a customer comes to the US. Typically, because of kind of the cost of logistics, I have not seen furniture be internationally drop shipped because it costs an arm and a leg. Textiles, kitchen textiles, bedding textiles, some rugs, and obviously, I think for some other categories, which is maybe like jewelry, apparel, that's where we have seen more of the international dropship volume. So, particularly to answer your question for furniture, in the lieu of not doing
हाँ
international
हाँ
dropshipping,
पेंटागन नहीं मिलता है अभी खत्म हो गया
um, In the lieu of international dropshipping, you would be expected to hold your stock in the US, but there are multiple options around 3PLs. These marketplaces have their own warehouse networks, which is like pay as you go, pay as you use sort of models. So we can take that offline in terms of how to do that. Poonam?
Hi
Yeah.
Arjun. I would like to share that I had the opportunity of working for Wayfair US in my past company, and it was a very different experience. Coming from 20 years of background in exports and handicrafts, e-commerce was a total different ball game. I mean, initial 2-3 years, the company was figuring out, how to be at par at least. We were shelling out marginally because of the designing, and the second was the returns. So I have two questions here. The first is like we were very closely connected with the Fairfair team, their private labels like All Modern and Josh and Main, where they used to give us the insights or the gaps in the categories where they felt that there is a need for more supplies. So
Yeah.
if we like now I'm into this HPC health and beauty care category. Still, can we get the insights from Wayfair, or we depend on the platforms you mentioned, Helium and Jungle Scout?
I mean, you need to be, as I am onboarding India-based sellers,
Okay,
I am more than happy to share category level insights. It's not available at like a model, like a self-service model where you can kind of go to wayfair.com and find category insights. For
yeah.
those, you would need to rely on platforms like Jungle Scout and stuff. But
Mhm.
you and I can connect offline. It seems like you've had some kind of experiences with Wayfair in the past. Happy to take it offline and share category particular insights. And but for context, once you become a seller, and this is true for money marketplaces, once you
Yeah,
do become a seller, they have like their partner home portals and seller central portals always have like category insights shared. And then most of the times, if you are like investing your time and doing serious business on the platform, they would assign a market like a some sort of account manager person to you, and they can also help you
yeah.
with identifying these pockets of category
But I guess
gaps.
that would happen once you reach a scale of business, not like in the initial startup days, right?
Yeah, again, that's again very marketplace. If to answer for Wayfair, I'm happy to take this offline with you and then share category insights or whatever you want. I'm happy you have heard some of our white labels like Bursley and Jocelyn. I was talking to the Bursley tomorrow
Yeah,
yesterday.
I worked for the brands for like 4-5 years, especially in
Nice,
furniture and decor category. So I could relate to a lot of things that you have mentioned, like Castlegate and all those things. So my
amazing.
second question, Arjun, was regarding like we used to get a lot of returns reports from Wayfair. Where
Yeah,
we could see that, what were the reasons for the returns? Was it the transit damage, or was it like
yeah.
the customer didn't like the size or finishes? But now, like we are dealing with Amazon, I couldn't find out those kind of reports because I used to feel that it was very beneficial to know the reasons
Yeah,
for the return so that you can improve on it. So, will it
yeah.
work for the Wayfair still the same that we'll be able to get the return reports maybe monthly or quarterly?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. As I said, we can take this offline, but we can give you all returns information, order by order level. And we have actually made a lot of progress in how we handle returns, where it's not as much of a financial burden to the
Hmm.
seller. So happy to take that offline in terms of how we manage that. And across the Wayfair, we have like our kind of overall business return rate is less than 5% actually. So we have continued to make because we understand returns can be a huge
Yeah, yeah,
um, like unplanned hit to
correct.
sellers, like
Uh-huh.
okay, I just needed to kind of refund all this money, but we have taken care of that. Happy to take that offline with you. um,
Thank you so much.
um, cool, we can go to the next slide because I did want to spend a few minutes on this one. So I think what I mentioned earlier is kind of 101 of merchandise of marketplace, like have a product, price it well, um, be it available to buy, things like that. But in my own kind of personal learnings about how I've seen, so I've worked with sellers at this point, a lot of them US based when I was in Boston. At that time, I was also supporting the China team. So I've worked with at least like 200 different China sellers. And then more recently, in the past 1 year, working with India based sellers. There are things I've seen that work well and don't work well with marketplaces that are sort of like tidbits, so to speak, of my nuggets of wisdom, if you will, that I wanted to share. The first and foremost is like You can have all the advertising, merchandising, and everything, but there is absolutely no substitute for selling a good quality product on a marketplace. Because after all the merchandising, the customer, the first thing they look at is customer reviews. And if a product has bad customer reviews, it is a immediate death sentence for that product. There's no way to turn it around. So you can spend all the money on ads and it will not be turned around. You're just kind of fooling yourself. So the reason I say that is because I have worked with obviously very great India sellers also who are making amazing product and everything. But I have also worked with sellers who think, oh, I can just ship something and make it happen, and then I don't have to worry about the consequence. um, don't do that. Like you'll just be putting yourself in a financial hole. Make sure, if you're your own manufacturer or you're working with sourcing partners, make sure that that product, the packaging is e-commerce friendly. The packaging is where we get a lot of feedback, where the product is good but it's arrived broken or shattered or packaging is damaged. People think like, oh, I can spend money on product, but the packaging, I can just make sure FedEx handles it, or FedEx or UPS do a good job handling it. Don't trust them. FedEx can be really rough with their handling, and you may have seen videos of FedEx guys kind of, or some other parcel guys throwing stuff over fences. So always, and we can, as all marketplaces can give you standards of what sort of packaging we expect. So please make sure you are absolutely certain of the quality of the product. Otherwise, it will just make your life easier on all the subsequent facets. Good reviews will lead to good organic sales. Your burden on ads and other things will just go down. Second thing, it's always 80/20. So you will launch, for most of my sellers, I say there's always that 80. We can go back to the last slide. But it's always 80/20. You will launch 100 products, 20 will take off, 80 will be the tail. This is where I think more intelligent planning at your end comes into place, where don't go, suppose you have to bring it into the US, don't go with equal quantities of all, like go deep across all the items. Take like starter quantities, to the degree your manufacturing processes allow, like lower MOQs and stuff. See what's working and invest in those. Most successful businesses on Wayfair, at least I have seen, have very heavy dependence on your bestseller SKUs versus kind of spreading it across. But doesn't mean that you rely on just those. You keep testing new items, testing new bestsellers, and keep adding them. But also important to call out, once you realize something is not a bestseller, it's not really working, don't try to make it work. Like if it's not resonating with the customers, just kind of um, flush through the inventory with discounts and everything, and focus on kind of winning back your business with the bestsellers. Third thing, be patient. I think this is a all marketplaces at this point have kind of decent level of density, where there will be products similar to yours. That it will take time to kind of grow that business. I've met with leading companies in Jaipur and Panipat and Moradabad. It's like, I want $10 million business in 1 year. It's like, great, good for you, but it will take time. Like I can give you that business, but you need to invest 2-3 years, help build kind of that muscle of how to manage the e-commerce business. There will be hiccups in the process. You will take time to build that, because one thing you'll always see in all e-commerce marketplaces, which kind of goes to my quality skin point as well. Um, Reviews dictate a lot of the algorithms on marketplaces. So anything with 1,000 review will always sell better than anything with 20 reviews, even if assume an underlying assumption is that the 1,000 reviews led to a 4.5 plus rating. So all these things take time to kind of accumulate, it- kind of all those reviews and everything. So make sure you're going in with the expectation that this is going to take time, versus being like, yeah, I just need my IPO moment in 1 year. That's not going to happen. Um, and lastly, it goes without saying, when folks start to run like huge assortments, huge catalogs, like 100 products, 500 products, more products, it's easy to start looking at the financials as a bulk, but that can be a little bit like a value drain. and it can leak your value. Make sure you have some segmentation or a surgical way to look at economics. If not SKU wise, it's class wise or somewhere, so that you don't just look at it and then aggregate, but actually looking at it um, in the more granular way to identify what's working, what's not working. It's sort of like stock market, right? Like your portfolio can be giving 7% plus year over year, but you need to know which stocks are doing well, when the stocks are not doing well. So kind of just basics. Um, cool. That's the all the part I wanted to cover on just kind of how to win on marketplaces, some tidbits from my end. Any questions on this? Otherwise, we'll jump into some of the more Wayfair specific questions or content.
Folks, opening the floor for 30 seconds. If anybody has any questions, yeah, Poonam, go ahead.
I wanted to understand what is the ideal conversion ratio for the reviews. Like, for example, if you have sold 10 units, what is the average ratio that we get, one or two reviews, or is it like higher, or it goes category wise?
Very category wise, but I'll say for Wayfair, about 100 orders leads to 2 reviews.
Okay.
So, but all these marketplaces, Wayfair included, have come up with programs of how to incentivize customers to increase that ratio. So, like for example, Wayfair does this very minor thing that typically when a customer purchases, they get an email, drop a review, 2 out of 100 respond.
Yeah.
Instead of that, I now send an email, drop a review, I'll give you $5. Just basic stuff. But that itself increases by 5x. So now it's 10 reviews for 100 customers. So all these marketplaces have come up with like ways to drive higher acceleration of review gathering.
Understood. Thank you.
Anveshika?
Hi, so I'm the founder of a breakfast cereal company here in India, and this will be the first time we'll venturing into the export market. So my question is, do we list our entire catalog, or do we focus on the best sellers and hero products while starting out?
Depends. How are you shipping your products? Would it be like MFN or something, or would you be stocking inventory in the US?
We were considering Amazon.
Yeah, that's why I said MFN. Yeah.
Yeah, the MFN route.
But no, but like even in Amazon, you have an option of putting it say into FBA, or you could put like international dropship, which I think they call Merchant Fulfill Network or MFN.
That one only.
Okay, so you're thinking of an international dropshipping, right?
Yeah. At least in the starting.
Yeah. My general recommendation is like kind of be wary of inventory risk. So start with pretty much everything. If it's MFN, it's shipping from India, so you can basically start everything from India. Then you see which ones are gaining traction, and you generally I don't know particularly about Amazon, but most of these platforms should get some sort of like funnel metrics. Funnel metrics means which one got impressions, which is called glances in Amazon, which one got clicks, and which one got, what is the add to cart rate, conversion rate. So you study that to identify, okay, these are the ones that are gaining traction, where at least customers are visiting. Then you say, okay, if they're visiting but not converting, it means that there's something not liking, maybe in the delivery timeline or something. So then those are the ones, or the ones that have gotten a little bit traction so far, those are the ones you make an small scale inventory investment in putting into FBA, and then you see that going. And then once those become bestsellers, you keep adding new and new ones. I would never recommend that your entire catalog you ship it to the US and try to sell, particularly if you have the option of doing MFN. Which is like, for example, in an earlier person's question, they were doing luxury furniture. They don't have the option of doing international drop shipping, but you do. So take benefit of that.
All right.
Great. Nikhil?
So, Arjun, my question on 80/20 rule. So, I'm already doing marketplace in India. It's been 6 months, and I have a fair idea which is working, which products are working for me. So,
Yeah.
do you think that learning we can apply in US as well, or it's a completely different market and we should study it separately? I'm into perfume
Studied
business,
separately.
so separately.
Generally studied separately. I think we've seen very different. I mean, again, I'm not so close to the perfume sector, but again, I'm speaking from my experience. Like, like for example, you take out bed sheets. India, mein, printed bed sheets work, like some patterns, some because we like some designs, Jaipur designs or something. US may it's pretty much categorically it's solid bed sheets. So if you go by that logic, you would kind of invest in the wrong stock. So I've seen in multiple places the design tastes of US are very different from India. In fact, I'll say this, like, not to harp on this, like even when I was talking to furniture sellers, there are furniture sellers in India who only do domestic markets. So like somebody like Wooden Street or somebody who are manufacturing for the Indian market, their designs are very different. They have a wood carving. Then, if you go to Jodhpur, Jaipur, there are manufacturers who don't sell in India who only do export because their designs. If you walk into the showroom, they look like you're in like some Williams Sonoma showroom in US. Their products look very modern, sleek, minimalistic design that is more US friendly, traditional designs, beige, very neutral colors. So, at least for those two categories, the anecdote I'm sharing is the design preferences are very different. So just make sure you are doing enough. That's sort of what the Helium and these Jungle Scout guys can do, where they can give you not just kind of price point information, but some more attribute information as well. So I would not, bottom line is do not assume what sells in India will sell in the US, and do your market research that way. Shruti?
So like we did here using Helium, we did a little bit research. Same way, I should use third-party tools to understand the market in US and follow that.
Yes.
Sure. Thanks, Arjun.
Totally.
Arjun, what mistakes do new international sellers usually make in their first 6 months on Wayfair? What are the common ones that you see?
Quality is one where I saw that which is why I was harping on it so much. The second thing is they expect very quick ramp without putting in the right amount of investment. So it's sort of expectation management. Other than that, I think, at least in my experience on Wayfair, they've been received well. It's more expectation management and then just making sure the quality is good. Cool. I do want to use the next 9 minutes to cover some brief stuff about Wayfair, because I do understand there are some home segment sellers on this call as well. So
there's one question on the chat. Can we take this first and then we can
of course, yeah, sure. Sorry, I missed the chat one.
No worries, I will handle the chat for you. Shita asks, what is the customer mindset when they see a local brand versus an Indian brand? Anything that we can do to build more initial trust and create an edge?
Marketplaces for the good question. There are multiple. I'll say this as somebody who's lived in the US for 10 years. I'll say the Indian diaspora is very well respected in India, in US, compared to some other like diasporas. So overall, I think we have a good reputation. This is like a blanket statement. But when it comes to how to do this, many of the home brands from India who sell on Amazon that I've seen go with more Western names and Western like branding, messaging, merchandising. So not necessarily, and that goes back to my earlier point where I was saying I have not seen a lot of success with like Indian style toys or Indian style furniture doing very well on US. It's manufactured in India, but more catering to more US designs. So if that happens, then you don't have to worry about the brand. The second piece is many platforms, particularly Wayfair, also has this sort of white labeling model where you don't even sell on your own brand, you can sell under our brand. But it's not like we are not buying, it's still like what is called similar to like what Amazon's Basics does, where Amazon Basics is not purchased, but it sells under you kind of tack on to their brand equity. We do that as well. So in many cases, you don't even have to worry about kind of establishing or investing in brand assets. You can just be a seller. But I've so far not seen that to be a struggle. Like, for example, if I take the example of some of the bigger guys on Amazon. So there's like a big textile company in Mumbai called Lane Linen. So their brand on Wayfair is Lane Linen, and on Amazon is Lane Linen. Nobody can tell it's from India, but it's does very well. There's a supplier of mine who I talked to in Karur called Maison de Hermine. It's a French name. But they are manufactured in Karur, Tamil Nadu, which is a great city. So point is, there is I've seen a lot of examples of that sort of Western messaging being used versus trying to harp on the Indianness of the product, because anyways, if the design are not kind of very Indian focused, you don't need to have that Indian messaging in the brand as well. Does that answer your question, Miss Ishita?
We'll move forward. Arjun?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Um, cool. I know we have 5 minutes away, so I'll cover this in a little bit of a speedy way. Um, some content that got cut, but overall, yeah, Wayfair is a big marketplace, 25 years old, e-com, focus completely on the home segment, and then uh, the main thing is Wayfair has always worked with like US based importers, but seeing the opportunity with global sellers, we have ventured very heavily into kind of working with global kind of sellers such as yourself. So we did that in kind of Shanghai in 2021, but last year I relocated from Boston to Bangalore to lead up the global selling India piece. So anyone in India looking to work on Wayfair can work with me and my team. Kind of next slide. Uh, we're doing well. That's the point of the slide. We're taking share. We're doing well. Let's move on. Um, we're entering into physical stores as well. Obviously, for all the trash talk I did about physical store guys in the back, it seems catharsis that now we are getting into physical stores as well, but we're doing it in a very targeted way and a very experiential center way versus kind of going with like 100, 500 stores. So, but it's been doing very well for us. Next slide. We opened Atlanta last month and getting good traction. Just some snaps from the opening event. Similar to like what supply chain, like end-to-end supply chain solutions, where a lot of marketplaces have stood up to help global sellers, we have as well. So we have our service called Castlegate. So right from our, like if you are basically like a factory in Jaipur or Panipat or Moradabad, we can basically take everything from there and get it all the way to in the customer's hands in New Jersey or California or Illinois. We can take care of all of that and for very economical cost as well. Next slide. Yeah, and lastly, this is something we're trying to grow out a lot. I think, and I think maybe the next slide is more important. But this is sort of like in my analysis and market survey of the home segment in India, there are particular areas that are kind of at the sweet spot where we have a lot of demand for kind of that higher quality premium goods on Wayfair, and we are not getting them from our China seller base. So those are categories that are we are very surgically focused on growing those. These are some of kind of the manufacturing belts and the goods that come from them. So I was talking about like more luxury furniture, like more high-end solid wood furniture that comes from the Rajasthan belt, rugs from kind of central UP, kind of that Badohi Mirzapur area. The northern UP Moradabad is called the brass city of India and very famous for decor. Again, Panipat, Haryana is a big textiles and rugs hub. So we have already sellers from there, and we are trying to grow that. South is very big on kind of the mills and the textile mills and the cotton-based products. So we have many sellers such as Maison de Hermine, who I mentioned earlier, who are selling with us from 5. In central India, that whole Mumbai circuit where like Linen or Wellspun or Trident, those guys are based out of kind of that 6 belt in the middle of the country, also very big with textiles. So these are some of the areas where we are very keen on getting sellers on board onto Wayfair. So anybody of you who are who and I mean, I'll say this like because these are public names. Havells, as one of India's biggest electrical companies, actually launched on Wayfair last week as well. I'm their account manager, so we are doing that also. So it's not necessary to say these are the only guys. We do have presence with other categories as well. But if any of you are keen to work with us, fall within these categories or generally the home segment, more than happy to take this up as a follow-up conversation, help you understand the opportunity. And if you do come on board, we would be supporting, me and my team in India would be supporting you as the account management as well. So yeah, right on cue. We have 2 minutes left. That was the bulk of what I wanted to cover in today's session. Hope everyone found it productive.
Yeah.
Yes, Shruti.
So, Arjun, I'm assuming Wayfair is not like Etsy where you're just open to anybody listing on there. So, you do a curated group of sellers that you source from, right? What are the capabilities that you look for in a good vendor?
Actually, I'll say this. Most marketplaces are actually open to all sellers, and so is Wayfair. So you can actually sell on Wayfair. Like I'm not going to be the one to stop you, but obviously we do find that with, say, our requirement is to have inventory in the US, so or um, do have some like category, like manufacturing capability and everything. It generally boards that some of the bigger guys are playing with us, but I just from a policy standpoint, we are happy to take as many sellers as possible. We are not going to be the blocker. But sometimes the requirements or some of the kind of the ways to work on Wayfair naturally leads to the kind of the seller deciding, oh, this is too much. I probably don't want to do this. But we are open to. So, and I think there's a question. My contact details will be shared as a follow up from this call. Please email me. I'm happy to kind of follow up with you, help you understand the opportunity, and kind of grow from there.
Thank you. Just a short follow-up question. So we work in textile art. My brand is called Underline. This is sort of what we do. I don't know if you can see, but
Okay.
would
Shruti, we
you?
can't see it. You'll have to
Move the
That's okay.
remove
We
it.
can
yeah.
we can follow
Yeah.
up. It's fine.
Okay,
I got
I'll
the
follow
sense.
up.
Yeah.
So the question is such products, right, which take a long time to make. Some of these products, artworks take me 30 days to make. Would you recommend international drop shipping for them, or would you recommend that I build an inventory and then approach somebody like Wayfair?
We do have options on Wayfair to set up things as made to order on longer lead times also. So we can caveat that out as well. So happy to, given it's a more specific conversation about a particular niche of products, happy to take that as a follow up conversation.
Sounds good.
But
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for your question. I know we're top of time, but any other questions, anybody? Otherwise, I will take your leave. Thank you again for having me. Hope this was.
Just one question. In
Yes,
majority of
Manas.
the cases, you only support marketplaces, or if we want to directly sell through a Shopify channel, that also you will support.
We no, I mean we are our own marketplace. We would be you if you have a Shopify account and inventory, you can integrate it with it, but it would be selling on Wayfair.com, not on your Shopify store.
Okay.
Um,
And actually, we are from Muradabad.
oh, very nice. Let's do this. Sorry, I am getting kicked out of this room. So Vishnupriya, because my contact details will be shared, could we take that as a follow-up, Manas? You're from Muradabad. I'd love to chat with you about your business and what we can do there. Sounds good?
Sure,
Before you
sure.
leave,
I'll just send you my email.
Manas,
Sounds
I
good.
can connect you to Arjun. Arjun, before you leave, can we have all of your pictures? We just want to take a quick group picture before we.
Okay.
So, founders, let's take 15 seconds and have all your cameras on, please. Yes. My colleague has a very interesting idea. She wants all of us to do a plane. So whoever is not camera shy, let's do it. I'll say I can't. Okay, yeah. Everyone, please do a plane with your hand. I will say three, two, one, and Arjun, I know you're shy, but this would only require
No, I'll do it.
5 I'll say three, two, one, and everybody makes a plane, and then I'll take a picture, right? Three, two, one. Awesome. I think we've got a lovely picture. Arjun, thank you so much. This was wonderful. I will be sharing your coordinates with the session founders.
Right.
Founders, please, I'll be launching a CSAT for the today's session. Before you leave, please vote on the poll. This is really important because it helps us understand how valuable you're finding these sessions and gives us quick feedback on the go as well. Just vote on the poll before you take the lead. I will be sending you session notes and other takeaways post this call. Awesome.
Thank you, Vishnupriya. Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Vishnupriya. Thank you. Thank you all.